كلية الفقه الحنفي تقدم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So for today's session, inshallah, we will be moving on to the ruling of 3 divorces. When a man has given 3 divorces, then what happens? So we call this the halala process. So we'll talk about the halala. When a man has given 3 divorces, then what happens? Then we'll talk a little bit about what modern day things are happening, and inshallah we'll shed some light on that from a shari'i angle, whether what people are doing today is permissible or not. We'll talk about that inshallah. Then we will also talk about what we call the mas'alatul hadm, where when she does get married to the new husband, what happens to the previous divorces as a result. So we'll talk about that, and we'll shed some light on that aspect inshallah. And then we'll move on to the chapter of ila. So what is ila? We'll talk about that. What makes the ila happen? And what is the time period? What constitutes a ila? We'll shed some light on, obviously, what Allah says in the Quran, الَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ, 4 months. Allah Ta'ala talks about there. So we'll talk about what the ila is there. We'll give you the main rulings of the ila. What does it issue as a result if he does, and if he doesn't fulfill the ila, then what happens? There are certain complex, we say, offshoot rulings there. We'll inshallah shed some light on some of them inshallah as well. And how to take back the ila, to prevent the ila from taking place. We'll talk about that. Then move on, hopefully we should get started as well today, the chapter of khul', where a khul' is taking place. What is a khul' first? We'll talk about that. And how it can take place. We'll also talk about the talaq ala mal, meaning divorce in exchange of money, and how much in these kind of cases should or can the husband take from the wife, and what type of divorce would it issue. Inshallah, we'll talk about all of these things today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So now, for today's session, we move on to the next mas'ala, where it describes regarding the 3 divorces. So once the 3 divorces have taken place, then what happens? Then obviously the wife will become, in essence, what we call a talaq mughallada. The wife will become mughallad, meaning the heavy form of irrevocable divorce, where in essence they can't get back together again until she marries somebody else, as mentioned in the Quran, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ, until she marries somebody else. And once she has then consummated the marriage with this new husband, and a divorce takes place there, then she can, after the waiting period from that new husband, she can get back together again with her previous former husband, the one that divorced her 3 times. So this is the mas'ala of what we call halala, where in essence this halala took place. This normally, I mean, the way that the Quran describes it and the way that the Sharia has presented this should happen in an organic way, whereby the after the 3 divorces, the wife, she genuinely moves on, finds somebody else to settle down with, and gets married to him. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out with that new husband, and then she gets divorced from that husband, and then she wants to get back together with her first husband again. This is the proper way of where we say حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ, and this happened in the time of the Prophet as well, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah, she came, the Sahabiya Zainab radiallahu anha, she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying she wants to go back to the first husband, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, no, not until you've, in a sense, you've actually slept with, meaning the new husband. So that's where we get this, and obviously from the Quranic verse as well, تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. So here there's indication that not just the nikah is sufficient, there has to be consummation that takes place. Now the nikah has to be a valid nikah as well, and then obviously the husband, the new husband, either he divorces her or he in fact passes away. Then she finishes her waiting period, the period, and then she can go back to the first husband. Nowadays, just to cover this aspect as well, that a lot of people, they try to force this, and they make this happen whereby they make a plot with somebody that I'll marry you for this particular purpose, and you can sleep with me once, in essence, and then divorce me. And then in essence they do this, they do a scheme, and they do a stratagem in this way to try to get the wife halal. So this is something that is definitely something which is discouraged. If it's done with conditions in the actual nikah, that after then this even leads to sin, where Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned curse on the person, where he says لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْمُحَلِّلُ وَالْمُحَلَّلْ لَهُ, where the person who the halala is, the person who's doing the halala and the person who the halala is done for, they all cursed. So you could see here, this is something which is completely discouraged. A person should not be doing this, and some people unfortunately take advantage of people in this kind of a situation, and they have like a halala agencies. So they, on social media, you will see there's halala agencies. They charge a certain amount for their services, in essence, right? And they manipulate the woman in this particular situation. A vulnerable person in this situation is then taken advantage of, and this is completely wrong, absolutely despised. And these people that bend the rules in that way to try to take advantage, they are being cursed by the hadith, and they are even being paid for it and everything. So it's just completely uncalled for, something that shouldn't be happening at all. The reason for this mas'ala being mentioned is like we said, the proper organic form, organically, just it so happened to be like this. That's the proper way it happens. Now, having said that, if a person, for example, a man sees that this couple have divorced and they do want to get back together again, and he does in his heart make this intention that, let me propose to her, and then if she wants, then I'll make her halal for her previous husband. So he actually gives a proposal, genuine proposal. He gives her mahar as well, the dowry, for marrying her. Then after having consummated the marriage, he genuinely asks her that, if you want, then I can release you from this marriage so you can go back to your first husband. And he does this with good intent, with pure intent, because maybe there's children involved, maybe there's other aspects here, and she does genuinely want to go back or something like that. Then if he does this, then that is not cursed. Okay, this person who does this without any benefit whatsoever of his, and he's, in essence, in fact, he's giving mahar, he's paying her mahar on top of that, right? And then he's doing this kind of a thing. Then this person can be for his intention. This person is not going to be cursed. So that's something to understand, like a fine line here. But this is a very in practical consideration, this would not probably happen too often. So that's the reason we say that the organic form is the proper form, and this, the way that people mock and play in, utilizing it for the fulfillment of their own desires, this is completely wrong, uncalled for, and is going to be cursed. So that's that to understand. obviously to understand here, that just to be clear, that just the nikah on its own is not sufficient. So if they marry, and then obviously she gets divorced straight away without any consummation, it will, even without any, meaning even if the seclusion took place. So even if seclusion took place, this will not be sufficient. There has to be actual, penetration in essence. The amount that necessitates ghusl, meaning the amount that the hashafa, which is the tip of the male genitalia, the male private organ, if that amount, the helmet amount in essence, if that amount has been penetrated, only that much needed to be penetrated, then this necessitates ghusl. This is called jima, this is called wati, this is called, in essence, according to Sharia, this is now, sexual intercourse has taken place. So that much would have been sufficient to call it, that's it, that made her halal already now for her former husband. So obviously, just to be clear regarding what needs to happen, bare minimum, this is why we mentioned this. So that is explanation of this particular mas'ala because of the Quranic text that mentions regarding this. Now, moving on, now if there's a new concept here now. So when the man divorces his wife, whether he divorces her once or twice, right? So he's divorced her once or twice. Then she went, after that divorce, the one divorce or the two divorces, her iddat finished, her waiting period finished, and she went and got married to somebody else, genuinely moved on, got married to somebody else. That new husband, they consummate marriage also with that new husband. She consummated marriage with the new husband, they've been together and everything else. Then she gets divorced from him. For whatever reason, she got divorced from him and she wants to come back to the first husband. Right? When she comes back to the first husband, she will come back with fresh 3 full new divorces. Right? Whether it's the first husband, the first initial husband, whether he gave 1 divorce, 2 divorces, or 3 divorces, the same thing will happen where when she went and done this halala, in essence, what we call it, when she comes back, she will come with fresh 3 new divorces. The idea is when she gets married to somebody else in between and consummates that marriage, that connection with the previous had completely cut off. So therefore, when she comes back to the first husband, it's like a fresh new guy, a new person, completely new person that she's marrying. So that's why 3 full, fresh, new 3 divorces will be instated for him or for them in between each other when they get back together again. So hopefully this has also made sense. This is a mas'ala which we call the mas'alatul hadm, the mas'ala of wiping the slate clean. So meaning that the zawju thani, the second husband, will yahdimu ma qablahu, will wipe the slate clean for whatever was before it, whether it's 1 divorce, 2 divorces, or 3 divorces. So there's a difference of opinion regarding this within the school, but the fatwa is what we stated here. So that's the thing to remember here. If a man, for example, was to divorce his wife, so he's divorced her, whether it's 3 times or whatever, he's divorced her, right? And then she comes back to him after a certain period of time. She comes back to him after a certain period of time claiming that after you divorced me, I finished my waiting period from you. Then I went and got married to a new husband who consummated marriage with me and also divorced me, and I finished the waiting period from that new husband. So in essence, she's saying that I've done a halala, right? So I've done all of that, and now I've come back to you to marry you, right? So she's in essence saying I've done a halala. So now the point is that can this husband, the former husband that she's coming and seeing, can he just take her word for it? So the answer to this is yes, he could take her word for it when if the time period that she comes back to him in has the possibility of her being truthful. So obviously if she comes back after 2 weeks and she says that I've done all of this, then it's obviously impossible that in 2 weeks she would have done all of that. So here he can't believe her. But when the possibility is that, yes, okay, that much amount of time, there's a possibility. So there we can believe her. Normally, in a normal case, you would say that would be, from the time he divorced her, she needs to spend 3 menstrual cycles because she needs to finish the waiting period, so 1 a month roughly. And then after she finished the last waiting period, and then in that very next purity, she got married to that new husband, consummated marriage, and got divorced from that new husband in that same in that same tohar, in that same purity, right? Though it wouldn't be recommended to do that, but he did that. He divorced her. Okay, that's now done. So in that way, then the very next period, the hayd that comes, the menstrual cycle that comes, she spends 3 more for this new nikah that came to an end. So therefore, we're talking 3 months first, 3 months after, so 6 months roughly. So that's the norm. So she comes back after around 6 months. So we can see, okay, yeah, we can believe her. But if we were to be technical here and count it in a technical way, not being practical, but just to make sure that we understand technically how long minimum period this has to be, then this would be roughly, let's just count it. I can tell you the answer, but it's better if we just count it together. So minimum period of the menstrual cycle is 3 days, as we know. So 3 days count for the 3 cycles she has to do during the waiting period, the first waiting period. So 3, 3, and 3. So that's 9 days on total, right? So she has to spend those 9 days. Now, he would have divorced her, the first husband, he would have divorced her. Let's just say he divorced her 1 day before her menstrual cycle. So he divorced her, and then the next day she came onto a menstrual cycle. So there's only 1 day there, right, in that before the menstrual cycle. So you can say 3, 3, 3, and that 1 day becomes 10 days already, right? So remembering 10. Now, in between, sandwiched between the first and the second menstrual cycle will be a period of purity, the tohr, the purity, and that is minimum 15 days, right? So you got 15 days there, and there's also another one after the second and the third. If you don't understand this, write it down and you'll see. So first day he divorced her, all right? The next day she's come onto her menstrual cycle, she's in her iddah, 3 days of menstrual cycle, and then 15 days of purity, 3 days of menstrual cycle, 15 days of purity, and 3 days of menstrual cycle. So that's her iddah from the first husband complete. So that's 15 plus 15, right? So that's 30 plus the 10 that we had before. So that's now 40 days. So 40 days have gone now. Now that she is in her purity, she married that person, in that 15 days of purity, she married the husband, she consummated marriage with him, and she got divorced from him in that 15 days. So that's that 15 days that we have to remember. Then she goes through the same again, meaning 3, 15, 3, 15. Sorry, 3, 15, 3, 15, and then 3. So there's another 39 days there, right? 39 days because 3, 3, 3, 9 days, 15, 15, right? So therefore, you've got 39 days there. So that 39 plus the 40 we had, so we've got 79 days plus the 15 days in between. So now that becomes what? So we had 79 plus the 80, one more, plus 14 days, so that's 94 days, right? If you discount that first day from the very beginning when he divorced her, you can even shave back that, right? So he divorced her, within a couple of hours, she already came onto her menstrual cycle. So there's not a full day there. So you can shave that off, so 93 days roughly. So 93 or 94 days. So we're talking about 3 months, just over 3 months. So when she comes back just over 3 months, then he can believe her, right? So that is, like, to being technical as to the minimum amount that she comes back in. So if she comes back after 2.5 months, then he's not going to believe her, right? But if she comes back after 4 months, then there's a possibility. Maybe her menstrual cycle was that, was was that short, and the dohrs in between were that short. There's a possibility. So that's where, if he believes that, actually she's telling the truth, she doesn't really lie, she probably is telling the truth, why would she lie to me? So there he can believe her. If he believes that, no, actually she's telling a lie, she normally lies a lot, so she really wanted to be with me, so this body is lying, so then obviously he doesn't take a word for it. But the idea over here is that, can he take a word for it, is the question. So now, that is the ruling over here. So that is hopefully understood there. Now, if the only time he can do this is if she mentions the whole detail like this, right? If she comes to him and just says that, what, I'm halal for you, right? Then he can't believe her. Because what do you mean you're halal for me? You're going to have to ask, what do you mean you're halal for me? What happened? Then she's going to have to detail that I went and got married to somebody and he divorced me, he consummated marriage with me, divorced me, and all of the rest of it. But if she doesn't know of all these rulings, then he can't just believe her. So the idea is that you have to try to get what we call a ghalabatul dhann. You have to get like a predominant thought that maybe most likely she is telling the truth. So hopefully that is then cleared up there. That was the final mas'ala regarding Kitabul Raj'ah. Next, we will move on to Kitabul Ila. Now, this is a very simple subject, hopefully people can understand. Ila is where the man takes an oath that, the husband in essence takes the oath that, I will not sleep with you. So he says, Wallahi, la ujami'uki, or la aqrabuki, I won't come close to you. Or any such word, any such thing, that I will not sleep with you ever again, but he has to say wallahi with it. So it has to be with an oath. He has to say by Allah, or something like that. So he's taken an oath that he will not sleep with her, right? So what will happen if he does this? If he does this, then this will constitute a ila, that he will become a muli in essence. He will become a person who has done ila. So what happens when he does this? If he does this, now his wife will become haram for him because he's taken an oath, right? He can't sleep with her until, if he does follow through, the point is that his wife not become haram for him, but the idea is that his oath will break if he does sleep with her. So if he does sleep with her within 4 months, so let's just say he said, I will not sleep with you ever again, or I will not sleep with you, just like that, he said that, he will become a person who's done ila, right? Or if he says, I will not sleep with you for 4 months or more, so he says 6 months or 10 months or whatever, so it has to be more than 4 months, and 4 months is the minimum period, right? So if he said, I will not sleep with you for 1 month or 2 months, he is not done, this is not ila, it doesn't constitute ila. So this comes from the Quranic ayat, لِلَّذِينَ يُؤْلُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ, those people who do ila from their wives, تَرَبُّسُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ, for them is waiting for 4 months. So because there's 4 months there mentioned, that's why minimum period of the ila is 4 months. That's when he would have been a person who has done ila. Now, once he has done that, if he does sleep with her within the 4 months, he would have broke his oath. Now what happens as a result, we'll discuss that. So moving on, if the person does sleep with his wife within the 4 months, so he took the oath, he became a person who did ila, now within the 4 months he sleeps with her, like we said, his ila, his oath would break in essence, his ila would break. Now what does he have to do? He will have to give the kafara, he will have to give the compensation. What is the compensation? The compensation is the same as the kafara of yameen, breaking a oath. So in essence, لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم ولكن يؤاخذكم بما عقدتم الأيمان فكفارته إطعام 10 مساكين. You either feed 10 poor people, أو من أوسط ما تطيعون أهلكم أو كسوتهم, or you clothe the 10 people, أو تحرير رقبة, or you free a slave. So either one of these 3 things can be done. And if a person فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ, if a person doesn't have the ability to do any of these three, then the person has to do صِيَامُ ثَلَاثَةِ أَيَّامٍ, fast for 3 days. So this is the kafara of yameen, the kafara of breaking an oath, and that's the same kafara that will apply here if he sleeps with her within the 4 months, within the time period that he said he won't sleep with her in. Now, if a person said something else, so said, so for example, he said, if I sleep with you, then I have to do a hajj or something like that, then if he does sleep with her, then he's going to have to do the hajj. So that would depend on what he said. But just generally, if he said, Wallahi, I will not sleep with you ever, or I will not sleep with you for 4 months or 6 months, then if he does sleep with her, he'll have to give the kafara here, and now the ila will drop, nothing will happen now, meaning no divorce or anything will happen. But if he doesn't sleep with her, and he says, no, I'm a man of my word, I'm going to hold true to my word, I'm not going to sleep with you for 4 months, so he doesn't sleep with her for 4 months, even if he took an oath to not sleep with her ever, or more than 4 months, but 4 months pass. The minute 4 months pass from the time he said this, 4 lunar months, 4 months pass, straight away what will happen? She will become irrevocably divorced. So she will get irrevocable divorce, and that's it. She will now be in her waiting period, she will pass her waiting period, and she will be free from this nikah, from this marriage. So this is the result of the ila. If the man does this ila and he doesn't sleep with his wife within 4 months, then she will become divorced from him in a irrevocable manner. So hopefully this is understood in terms of the concept of ila here. Now, the point here is to then understand that if he took an oath that he will never sleep with her, right? So he said, I will never sleep with you, or I will not sleep with you for 8 months, or more than that, for 1 year, or anything like that. Now, at the passing of 4 months, one divorce, irrevocable divorce would have occurred. Then, if they get married again, and he still hasn't slept with her, right? So that oath still continues. So if another 4 months pass, right, with the oath that he said, so he married her straight away, and 4 months have passed again, and he hasn't slept with her because of the oath, then another irrevocable divorce will take place. So it'll continue. So if he said, for example, the easiest thing to understand, I will never sleep with you ever again. So if he said that, meaning he said Wallahi with it though, so Wallahi, I will never sleep with you, then every time he marries her, the divorces will carry on taking place until 3 happen. Once 3 happens, that's it. I mean, there's no more divorces that can take place because he can't marry her again. But if he does what we said in the previously, if she goes and gets married to somebody, does the halala, comes back. But then, if in this new marriage again he doesn't sleep with her, then by the passing of 4 months, a divorce will not occur. No divorce will occur here now, because the maximum that could have occurred is 3. So the 3 have already occurred. So in this new marriage, no divorce will occur. But if he does sleep with her, he will still have to give kafara of his yameen, because it's still an oath at the end of the day. He said, I will never sleep with you. And he hasn't until now. So if he does sleep with her now, he has broken his oath. So his oath will break. He'll have to give kafara of his yameen, of breaking the oath. So hopefully that's understood. The oath factor is separate to the ila factor. We're separating this out. Typically, as we obviously in our Hanafi fiqh do, we like to separate things out like this. So hopefully that is understood. Now, just to understand a bit more here, to comprehend a few more, these are juz'i masail, but like we try to understand that so we can understand the principle very well. If a person, for example, took an oath that I won't sleep with you for 10 months, right? So then 4 months passed, an irrevocable divorce happened, and then he, the same day they married again. So another 4 months passed, again he didn't sleep with her, irrevocably divorced again a second time. Then he married her again, they got married again. Then only 2 months passed now, isn't it? There's only 2 months left from the 10. So now, by passing of 4 months, nothing happens. Why? Because even though he didn't sleep with her for another 4 months, but it wasn't with an oath. That's the thing to remember here. So what's important to remember, if a man doesn't sleep with his wife for years, but he never ever took an oath about it, that he won't sleep with her, he just didn't sleep with her, right? Then this doesn't mean automatically by the passing of 4 months, irrevocable divorce will take place. That's not what it means. This only happens because he said this verbally. He he transgressed, he verbally caused her harm by saying to her that I will not fulfill your right, in essence, in this nikah. I will not sleep with you for 4 months. So there, obviously, we understand over here that by the passing of 4 months, if he holds true to it, then an irrevocable divorce will occur. So hopefully this aspect of it is also understood. Now, obviously, if he took oath that he will not sleep with her for, let's say, 4 months, so he didn't sleep with her for 4 months, and an irrevocable divorce happened. Irrevocable divorce happened, then they got married again, and then he didn't sleep with her for another 4 months. After that, nothing happens. Why? Because remember, the first time when he took the oath, 4 months had already passed, didn't it? That's finished. So now the oath also finished. There's no more oath. So now when he's not sleeping with her after that, it's not because of an oath. He's just not sleeping with her. So there, nothing will occur. So this is important to understand, that when he's refraining from sleeping with her because of the oath, when he took the oath, that's when the ila takes place, and that's when a passing of the 4 months without him sleeping with her means an irrevocable divorce. So now all of these understandings hopefully should be clear. I get that it may be a bit of a complex mas'ala. Some people may be thinking that what's the point of this and trying to understand this. There's a point of it. The point of it is that, sometimes some people might think that this is very impractical. This type of thing doesn't really happen. But it does happen. When it happens is the unconditional format of it, where he says, I will never sleep with you again. This happens when, for example, husband and wife are having a bit of altercation, and the wife says, yeah, you only come to me when you need me. You're a user. You only come to me when you're asleep with me. So he gets insulted, right? And he says that, yeah, you think I need you? That's it. Wallahi, I will never sleep with you again. So this is what he says. And now when he said that, this will become an ila now. Because obviously he said, I will never sleep with you again. So this format of it is somewhat common. This can happen. We get that the ila is not generally known, so who's going to say 4 months, right? Generally people aren't going to say, I won't sleep with you for 4 months, with the wallahi there. So that format of it may not happen. But hopefully this format of it, people have understood where it can happen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Now, to summarize what we've done today, so we started off with the mas'ala of the halala. So the 3 divorces have taken place. So now the only way that she can come back to him is hatta tankiha zawjan ghayra. She has to go marry another husband, and it should take place in an organic way, like we said, genuinely move forward. And if it doesn't work, then she can come back to her previous husband. So this is the proper way of doing the halala, and we talked about the ways that people do plotting and doing it, or making conditions, especially in the actual nikah, doing it like that, being makruh, and a person being cursed because of this in the hadith. So we talked about all of those rulings. Then we went on to the mas'ala of where when she gets divorced 1, 2 or 3 times, then when she does marry a second husband, he would have wiped the slate clean for the former husband, even if it was 1 or 2 divorces. Then if the wife claimed that she has done a halala, then what was the time? 93 or 4 days for the minimum amount of time for the husband to believe her, but he has to have this predominant thought that she's telling the truth. So those were the masail regarding the raja'ah at the end of that. And then we moved on to the chapter of ila. We discussed what ila is, where a man takes an oath of not sleeping with his wife for at least 4 months or more, or he takes the oath that I will not sleep with her forever, then, or just says I will not sleep with you at all or something like that, then he is now a person who's done ila. If he does sleep with her, he'll have to give kafara of yameen. If he doesn't sleep with her by the lapsing of 4 months, 1 talaq ba'in, one irrevocable divorce will take place. Now, if he had taken an oath of, that's it, I will never sleep with you, then it will continue, right? So if he does marry her again, it will continue, meaning if he doesn't sleep with her for 4 months, another irrevocable divorce will happen. Obviously, if he had taken an oath of less than forever, meaning 6 months or 5 months or 4 months, then after the 4 months are over, he's fulfilled his oath and it drops, is no longer instated. So that is there. We understood that Ila is only when he's taken an oath and he's not sleeping with her, he's refraining from sleeping with her because of the oath. And then we talked about, doing a fate, meaning compensating verbally if he's unable to physically sleep with her. Then we moved on to the chapter of khul. So we understood the clarification that khul is not a wife's right to divorce. She is just requesting a divorce, just like she would request a normal divorce, a talaq. She can request the khul, she can request a divorce. No difference. Absolutely no difference. So just because she says, I want the khul, doesn't mean that the husband has to give it. It's still the husband's choice, right? Just like the divorce is the husband's choice. So in this particular one, khul is simply where the wife is giving something of monetary value in exchange of him giving a divorce. Generally speaking, that would be the mahar back, if the fault was from her side. If the fault was not from her side, then he shouldn't take back any payment, though if he does, it will still be halal for him to do so. If he issues her a khul, then immediately, just on him agreeing to give her the khul, straight away a irrevocable divorce would have taken place. And if he gave her a divorce in exchange of money, he said talaq ala mal, in essence, in exchange of money, then again the divorce would have taken place as soon as he agreed. Or if he said I'll give you divorce, then as soon as she agreed to give the money, then the divorce irrevocably again would have already occurred. The only difference between the two of them was if the exchange became void in the khul, it will remain a talaq ba'in. But if it became a irrevocable divorce, meaning, but if it became void in the talaq ala mal scenario, the exchange became void in that scenario, it will become a revocable divorce. And I explained the concept there.